Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Pull you up a ringside seat here, and welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast. As always, one of your hosts here, Marky Mark, and joining me today is my tag team partner in crime, Mr. Frank Donaldson. How we doing today, Frank?
Oh, I'm good. It's WrestleMania season. It's
Absolutely.
my favorite time of the year. This is like a kid's Christmas time right now.
Yes.
And I'm making my list and checking it twice.
And it looks like Santa might have brought you a present early.
Yeah.
What you got there?
Those belt collectors of us, they used to call Kenny Omega that. Kenny Omega don't got nothing on me over here. So I'm just doing a little belt collector today with the Andre 87 belt, dual plated here. Nice gold, nice big plates here, nice floppy strap. Yeah.
We still talking about the belt, right?
Oh, my bad. Yes, we are a family-friendly show, so absolutely the belt. But yeah, so just in the WrestleMania season, so the champ is here.
Hey, that is a beautiful belt, might I say?
Well, thank you very much.
Great looking. Sorry, Vince.
So this doesn't have the WWE logo. This is a belt.
So we can call that a belt.
Yeah, this is a championship belt.
Screw you, Vince.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Go home, Vince. Cut that mustache off. Did you hear about the mustache?
Oh, not the stash.
Apparently he's Charlie Chaplin now or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard he walked up to Triple H backstage and went, "I must ask you a question."
Yeah.
All right. So we'll
Porn
get in.
stash for Vince there.
We'll get into today's topic. So, as Frank alluded to there, it is WrestleMania season. We are off and running. We are 100 miles an hour going down the fast lane. Oh, not fast lane, maybe.
No, fast lane.
Fast lane, that's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, Elimination Chamber is fast
Yeah,
lane, so.
that's gone. So
we're just on the road to WrestleMania.
There you go. We're going to talk about some of the matches here. The story so far is what we're calling this series here. So we're going to kick it off. We wanted to talk about, in our eyes, what is the main event. We're going to kick this off right.
Oh, yeah.
So, obviously, right now, the main event is being billed as the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, versus the Tribal Chief, the head of the table. Let's throw our ones up and acknowledge.
Your damn ones up
right.
out there.
That's right. Mr. Roman Reigns.
WWE Universal Undisputed Champion.
Absolutely. So we're going to kick this off talking about their match and interesting times and how this match kicked off, especially with the way the Bloodline story kind of split there. Well, Frank, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's what do they call it? It's a dangerous narrative that they got going on. They got a lot of stories going on, a lot of movement in the back. You got the Usos, teasing a breakup for a while. Then we're taping this after Raw, so we know that Jay joined back up with Jimmy, turned against Sammy. You got that storyline going. You got Sammy leaving the Bloodline, going after Roman. Somewhere on the side, they got KO coming after Roman. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces going on before you even get to the whole Cody and Roman narrative. So there's a lot going on, but I mean, it's a great problem to have. You have that many storylines, that many different branches that you can go to after Mania. It's making for compelling storytelling, that's for sure.
And talking about compelling storytelling, I mean, this kind of feud between the two, obviously Cody is getting this match because he is our 2023 Royal Rumble winner. And he had a interaction right off the bat with kind of the one, the only Mr. Paul Heyman. And that interaction was pretty deep. What'd you think?
Yeah, so I mean, we know Paul Heyman, if nothing else, he's a great storyteller. So, I mean, he found a way to weave and, get that story in there where he could go back in the past and reference like his history with Dusty. And, then they had Roman come out and do that a couple weeks later where he could go back to Cody with his history with Dusty. And I mean, it's just amazing how all those stories exist enough to whereas you can give that realism with it. It's not just where you just fabricate some stuff and, yeah, Dusty was my best friend and blah, blah, blah. And, it isn't none of that. This is deep-rooted realism, and that's where you're going to get your best stories at in wrestling.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key word is the realism part. The fact that Cody talked and he kind of, as he said, he pulled the curtain way back for a moment. And he talked about how, back in the day, his dad didn't have but a couple of bucks for the family, and Paul was, gave him some work.
Yeah.
And I mean, Paul, that you can tell that registered hard with Paul. He's definitely got a deep love for Dusty.
He was taken aback. It's hard to get Paul to get out of character for a minute, but I feel like those guys were coming straight from the hip. I feel like they didn't discuss in the back, here's exactly what we're going to say and script it all out like WWE's been known to do. I feel like they probably went over a brief outline, kind of like what we did today. Let's go over what we want to hit, and however we get there, we get there. But yeah, when as he was saying that, you can see that realism. Cody's great with his promos. When he feels it, he feels it. You can see his passion for the business. But when he was telling Paul, he said, hey, like you just said, I only had a couple dollars. Dusty had, basically squandered it all. And, the walls were probably closing in on him, and then he gets a call from Paul Heyman from ECW out of all people. And, I mean, that turned Dusty's whole life around. Not just his career, but his whole life around. And made a life for Cody. So, I mean, legitimately, Cody could say, hey, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Yep. So they had their interaction, and it was quite the interaction. The next week, it was still powerful, but it kind of fell flat a little bit for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good. But that's the part where Cody got a little pissed off. He told Roman, don't you send this man no more.
Yeah.
That you come. And if you're not going to come, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah.
So he was tired of dealing with Paul. And eventually, we did get our face-to-face.
Yep.
But my God, I don't think anybody was ready for what happened in that face-to-face.
No, I mean, coming off of the Paul Heyman, interaction that he had, you would think that would be about as deep as it was going to get, because, I mean, they were cutting really deep. They were getting really real with it. And I'm like, not thinking about it, not thinking unilaterally. You're thinking, hey, Roman doesn't have that kind of history with Cody.
Right.
This is just going to be one of those typical, I'm the good guy. I'm going to win. I'm going to finish the story. Hurrah. And then you got Roman on the other side. I'm the tribal chief. I'm going to do this and my bloodline, blah, blah. None of that. We didn't get none of that. The very first thing that happened was so out of character for Roman was Cody came in there and said, hey, what you got all these other hangers around doing in here? What are we doing in here? Roman turned right around and told him, all of y'all get to getting it.
Get to the back.
Get to the back. And, they don't do that. No. That's not a bloodline thing. But I think at that point, everybody understood the impact that this was having. So I think, Roman realized, Cody realized, Triple H and everybody in the back had already realized, you two guys standing out here having this conversation is going to be epic. That's how we're going to do it. So he said everybody in the back and said one-on-one, man-to-man, let's talk.
And then the way that the conversation started, Roman knows more about Cody than I think what we all think he does. Because the first thing Roman did, again, completely out of character, he laid the championships down in the ring.
Yep.
And he looked at Cody and he said, oh, this might offend you. Now that tells me he knows Cody is a very respectful person for the business. Mm-hmm. He knows he's very respectful of the history of the business.
Absolutely.
And then those championships, what they represent and the history that comes behind them. Mm-hmm. It's like, some people say you can't let the American flag touch the ground.
Yep.
I mean, those things are in reverence, right?
Yep.
He laid them on the ground, I think, to get in Cody's head. But that was also him drawing his line in the sand.
Absolutely. So, we got to get our wrestling history in. That's what I do. That's my part. But think about back in the day after every WrestleMania, what'd you see with Hulk Hogan? They'd give Hogan the belt. Hogan would hold the belt up. He'd celebrate. Then he would lay the belt down right over the line and start doing his posing and all that. But he always stood behind the belt for his posing. Mm-hmm. And when the matches would start, he would come in there, House of Fire, music blare, Real American blare, and Hogan rocking. when, the opponent would jump out of the ring and Hogan would do the same thing. He would lay that belt on the line and just stand behind it and wave the guys in. Like you said, that's his line in the sand.
Right.
But, you got to remember, what's the first thing Roman told him as he laid those belts down? He said, have you ever been this close to one of these? Hell, have you ever even fought for one of these before? And I mean...
Daggers.
Oh, yeah. So... Like, well, and you just hit it a minute ago. Like you said, Cody knows he has respect for the business, but even when Cody was in AEW, he was still talking about that one that got away from his family.
Right.
And that was that WWE, WWF at the time, WWF at the time, actually, World Heavyweight Championship. He said his dad never got it. I mean, he's in another competing company talking about that's still that goal. It's still out there. And as soon as he got to WWE soil, the first thing he said is, I'm coming after that belt because that's what my family missed. Well, that put him on a collision course with Roman one way or another, and Roman stepped right up to him and told him, hey, this is as close as you're going to get to these things, and picked him right back up and carried on about his interview. But yeah, he drew that line in the sand and told Cody, he said, if you think you're big and bad enough, come and get him, and but you ain't getting them tonight. So.
Yeah. And then when he got to the part of the conversation where he was talking about, his father, how Dusty was the mentor, how he poured everything that he could think of into Roman to help Roman, understand what the objective was. And then as Roman said, Dusty said, you got it. You can't get rid of it. You can't sell it. You got it. There's no way to get rid of it.
Yep.
And then he was kind of looking at Cody and was like, I'm sorry. He never taught you any of that, but I will. Yep. And I'm like, oh my God, that is like fighting words.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and on top of that, what else did he tell him? He said, hey, Dusty used to tell me this. He'd sit around and talk to me and we would tell stories. And everybody, if you listen to any other wrestling podcast besides this one, you knew that Roman was he was handpicked, he was earmarked to be this guy. Many years ago, back in FCW, they realized with his look, with his body type, with his lineage, that he was custom made for this role. And Dusty had to know that too. There's no way that you're telling me Vince and all of them didn't know and they didn't pass it on to Dusty, who was training him in FCW.
Right.
So Dusty knew 10, 15 years ago this was going to be where Roman was. And Roman flat out told him, your dad would tell me that every time I saw him. He told me, he predicted that I was going to be the man. But what did he ask Cody after? He said, you want to know what your dad told me about you? Nothing. He said he never mentioned you. Roman said, as far as I didn't even know you existed for however many years before you even got into the business. And thinking about the situation, just being completely honest, I 100% believe that. What would Dusty have to gain by coming in and telling everybody how his kid was going to be the next superstar? Hell, he had a kid in the business already. Dustin was already doing his thing in WWE. Cody wasn't, he was just, he was still in high school, for Christ's sake, when all this was starting. So, I mean, there was no thought that he would be at this level in the game. So I wholeheartedly believe there was many a night where Dusty would come home and sit around the table and tell Cody and his mom and his wife and all how good this Roman Reigns kid is going to be. This kid's going to be the man. All the while, Cody's sitting there thinking, what about me? And hell, what about him? I mean, back then, like I said, what about him?
Yeah.
Now, where we're at right now, it's like, hey, what about him? Yeah, what about him? He's knocking on that door, but there's still Roman Reigns standing on the other side of that door. So,
yep. So that's kind of the story so far on these two guys. Thinking about where this is going to go. So obviously we're recording this after the March 6th Raw. We saw Cody kind of get the rub from Cena on that episode. Yeah, I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse.
So, we always talk about all the other shows we listen to. We cite our sources here. I was listening to Busted Open. They were talking about that. And Bully really said, Bully Ray was kind of the thought that was just forced. Like, it was unnecessary, which I completely agree with. He literally said his name. They played his music. He came out and they went to commercial. They came back and all the guys were gone. They didn't do it to build anything. There really wasn't any reason to do it short of, John Cena shouldering up to Cody Rhodes. That's forced. I mean, as I listened to his opinion on it, when I saw it, I remember thinking it was awkward, but
It was awkward.
because they went away from it so fast, it kind of, left my mind. I'm just like, is this all that we're going to get out of Cody tonight? Which turned out not to be, but that's what I was thinking. Like, why would they fly him in here and literally come out here and, shoulder to shoulder with John Cena and then go away? So, but that's what they did. And I thought about, I was like, that's real awkward. But then when I heard Bully's take on it about how it was forced that they were kind of trying to give him that rub, I think Tommy Dreamer was on the show. He said, what he took away from it was they've tried that before, where The Rock did that for Cena, The Rock did that for Roman, and it wasn't received the same way. But my thing was with those two guys, they were already those polar figures in wrestling at that point. Sure. They were already pulling boos and things like that, and they were trying to get they were trying to bring The Rock in to sway them back to those guys' favor. Cody's not getting any boos right now. Everybody that's behind Cody is behind Cody. He doesn't need a John Cena right now to give him the rub or pass the torch or anything. I mean, Roman's running with that torch right now like an Olympic runner.
He's running with that torch, dare I say, better than anybody that has ran with it in a very long time.
Absolutely. I mean, back to Cena. 20 years ago, Cena. Yeah. He's in that territory right now.
He's in rare air.
So I get the idea of, okay, you want to, show Cody is elevated to that level. I get it, but like you said, it's one thing to do it, it's another thing to force it, and I just feel like that was just unnecessarily forced. Cody can stand on his own at this point as a viable challenger for Roman Reigns. I don't think he needs the Cena endorsement to get him there.
Yep. So as we're building this, that is the story so far. Where it will go, we'll have to wait till SmackDown coming up and see where the story goes. But if you had to pick a winner right now, I'll put you on the spot. Who you picking?
So, and we've talked about this off air where I told you my opinion on this. Everything is pointed to the Cody win. He needs to finish the story. It's his big first win. It's, his father's legacy, blah, blah, blah. With all those bloodline branches that we talked about that they're building right now, I don't know if I see Roman dropping that belt. So for me, just my personal take on it, him not losing Cody not winning the belt, I don't think derails his momentum right now. I feel like that train is going to keep plugging. They can do rematches. You're
talking about Cody's push.
Yeah, if Cody loses the match, at this point in time, there ain't no shame in losing to Roman Reigns because everybody's done it.
Right.
There ain't nobody in wrestling right now that, or in WWE at least, that ain't laid them shoulders down for Roman Reigns that's of main event level. There's guys in AEW that laid them shoulders down for Roman Reigns on their way out. So everybody who is a name in wrestling right now has done it. I don't see it being a detriment to Cody to do it, but I do see it being I see if Roman loses, I see him going away for a while, and I don't think now's the time for him to go away for 6 months.
So I do agree with the fact if Roman loses, he goes away for a while, but I think he doesn't go away until after Backlash.
Well, and that's why I don't think he loses at Mania. I just don't. Well, for one, and then there's always going to be that underlying, this is an AEW guy, right? Cody did a lot of negative Triple H stuff when he went over to AEW, breaking the thrones and stuff we've talked about on previous podcasts.
Right.
My thinking is Triple H the kind of guy that rewards him for that by giving him the biggest title in wrestling? Or is Triple H the former leader of DX and the Cerebral Assassin and all the other the game and the game and things like that? Is he going to be the guy that
got some medicine for you there if you constipated?
You got to be the game. Triple H. He needs to win the belt. So my thinking is Triple H going to reward Cody for all that nonsense he did over in AEW? Or do we really want to see the AEW guy lay them shoulders down for the biggest, baddest wrestler in the WWE?
Yeah. So my thing is, I don't understand any of this that you're showing on TV if Cody doesn't win at Mania. I just, to me, that's how I'm looking at this. Cody has to win. I mean, they have kind of put themselves in a spot to me that I think it does hurt his credibility. It hurts Cody's credibility if he doesn't win. Also, if he doesn't win,
now wait. So did it hurt Edge's credibility? Did it hurt Daniel Bryan? Has it hurt Drew McIntyre? Has it hurt KO?
Different set of circumstances, though. These guys were already established within the company. Cody's the guy coming in.
Yeah, well, Cody's been there a year now, so you know.
Yeah, but I don't see them. I don't see them doing this whole. Even if he wouldn't have got hurt, I don't see them working this whole big program with them for him to take the L and then what is he going to do? Work his way back from the bottom again? Like,
oh, you keep pushing. You just keep trying. You just keep trying.
I guess for me, I don't see the way out of it if Cody doesn't win.
I get it.
I don't see the way out of it, and I see how it could really just be hurtful. I don't know that the crowd would continue to push behind him. You know, now granted, if he wins at Mania and then drops it at Backlash through some nefarious interference of the bloodline,
who's he dropping to? To Roman?
Back to Roman.
Now, so you don't break a 3+ year run for him to hold it for a month.
Let's hope not. Now,
if they're gonna break Roman's winning streak, you got to break it. Like I said, Roman's got to be gone for 6 months or so.
Right. So I don't know. But I mean, talking out of both sides of my mouth, I really don't want to see Roman drop it.
I mean, hey,
I love what he's doing with this character,
and that's my thing. When he drops it, that's the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you
can't go back.
You can rebuild another story. There's the Sammy thing. There's a lot of other angles out there to be played for, but once you stop this historic reign, it's over.
Yeah.
This reign is done. So do you stop it, or do you say, let's go for 3 straight years, or, let's make it to next year's Mania? I mean, the great part about it is there is this much discussion going on about it. Last year's WrestleMania, when it was Roman versus Brock and it was the greatest WrestleMania main event ever, we're going to unify the top. Everybody and their brother knew going into that who was winning that match. There was no hide nor hair. Every podcast, every talk show, every dirt sheet, everybody was like, this is Roman's crowning achievement. This is going to be his make it or break it. And it was. It turned out to be just what we all thought it was. And they were who we thought they were, as Dennis Green once famously said in football. But this year, it's not like that. I mean, like I said, the Roman storyline is so hot right now. To go to your point, if Roman drops it, what do they have? What storyline do they have? Right now, WWE's dominating television. They're dominating the whole wrestling world because this Bloodline storyline is so good. So if you stop that, what storyline do they have? What backup storyline or what B story do they have to elevate that's going to be this compelling?
So I see your point, but I would also counterpoint with this. They always look at WrestleMania as the culmination of the storylines.
Yep.
And the Raw after Mania is always the clean slate, and the world is your oyster, and the new programs could build from there. Does he go into a program with Rollins that takes him to SummerSlam? Does he go up against Sami Zayn?
Who is this, Cody?
Yeah, if Cody wins. Does he go against Sami Zayn?
I don't want to see Cody and Seth Rollins no more. We need to lay off.
Again, different. It's for the belt.
It's different
this time.
because this is the title, sir. That's right. The WWE. So that'd be the title. So
yes. Sorry, Vince. This time I'm sorry.
It definitely is different, but I still don't want to see that. But I'm ready to see Cody in some fresh feuds with new. I'd like to see Cody versus Bobby Lashley.
Oh, okay.
I would like to see that. That would intrigue me.
That would be intriguing.
If so, rumor is that Brock Lesnar's not staying around again. And this rumor went around back in WrestleMania 20, and it proved to be true. Lately, though, that rumor every time it goes around is kind of a leverage tactic for Brock to get a bigger contract from WWE. But nonetheless, I'd like to see Cody wrestle Brock. There's a lot of. I'd like to see Brock fight John Jones, but that's a whole different podcast.
Wouldn't that be good?
That's a whole different podcast. We'll go into a different day. But
just kind of as we wrap it up here, we just the one thing though that I will say as we end. So could you see Johnny Gargano versus Roman Reigns? Could you see that?
I mean, as a one-off, sure, but not as a program.
Could you see Johnny Gargano versus Cody Rhodes as a program?
So yeah, I could see that as a program. That would definitely have a much different appeal.
What about Tommaso Ciampa?
God, where's he at, man?
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying, and I know we got to wrap it up here, but
what about AJ Styles?
AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, he's got to be coming.
Finn Balor versus Cody Rhodes.
So yeah, there is a lot of meat on the bone for a Cody title run. Okay,
so that's where I'm going. You know, we've had Roman, and Roman's decimated everybody.
Yeah.
And hey, still acknowledging our tribal chief.
Yeah.
That is the man. And even if he drops the belt, he's still the tribal chief. Yeah. That is the
Whenever
man.
he comes back, he's reprogrammed right into that main event slot again.
Absolutely. So that's
may be swaying.
That's where I'm going.
Okay, I can see that now because there's a lot of Cody matches that would be appealing, but do they need the belt? Do they need the belt?
Do they need the belt? No. But does Cody need the belt to finish his storyline and carry it for a while? Yes, he does.
All right.
So the belt's there by default.
All right. We'll leave it at that then. We'll leave it at that. We'll probably revisit, but we'll leave it at that.
All right. So as you see, everybody, me and old Frank here, we're not afraid to disagree with each other.
Oh, no. That makes for good, compelling radio.
Exactly. So if you disagree with what we're saying here, reach out to us on our social media. Definitely be glad to entertain any thoughts you all may have, and definitely love to chat it up with everybody.
Absolutely. And you know where we're at, all social media, the Bookers Alliance. Hit us up.
Absolutely. So with that, everybody, thank you for tuning in to our podcast. We appreciate everybody who's been listening. We are going to continue this going down the road with everybody into the adventure together. So with that, everybody, we bid you adieu.
Peace.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for the Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.